And we
Hey,
are live
Chris.
on the air. How's it going, brother?
I'm doing good.
Good to see you.
I'm
Nice.
back up in,
Yeah, it looks beautiful up in Canada.
yeah.
Looks gorgeous. That's yeah, so green and pretty up there. I am in the cold, hiding with the tarp behind me in it because
Well,
it's
it,
cold
it,
outside Denver.
it, don't get me wrong, it's cold here.
What is it?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah, it's
yeah.
like probably, I think in Fahrenheit, probably 20, minus 20, or sorry, I mean about, freezing is what, 30, 32. So it'd be about 40 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's kind of where we're at too. So
Yeah.
yeah, enjoying that cool weather. How's everything
So
going for y'all over there? Yeah, go ahead.
it's been
Dive
going
in.
really good. I mean, we just got back here day before yesterday. Yesterday was kind of an integration day. And we were talking about before how when you do readings, you get situations that are pertinent to you. It's like
Yeah.
the best way I could describe it over the last 24 hours is Sagittarius and Aries uh, were like full on fighting with Scorpio and Pisces.
In people or just energies inside of ourselves?
Well, energies. I mean, we all got that inside of us, but that's what I felt. This
Yeah, it's well
Yeah,
said.
this yeah,
It's
this
really
this
well
this
said.
Scorpio protective, all-encompassing energy, and then Sagittarius is like, I'm going over here, and Aries is gonna go, oh no, you don't. Get back here, do your work. It was this weird kind of
Yeah.
energy, and people on the live today were like, it was a 28-degree Scorpio, of course,
Mm.
with Sagittarius and Aries, and then the next girl was an Aquarius, the same as Cynthia's daughter, exactly the same. It looks the same, and
Mm.
with a Virgo and Aquarius parent, and I'm like, okay, there it is. I mean, there's my life in front of me.
Hmm. You're drawing it in. Well, the astrology does say that there's those four energies are in contending with one another. The sun in
Oh,
Sagittarius, so the sun in Sagittarius is like the new narrative, and it's starting to square Neptune now, which is the new spiritual story. And a square is sort of a reconciliation, an intersection of energy. In fact, Pisces is spirit and Sagittarius is belief. And whenever you have squaring energies, those are the cornerstones of reality. So there's a cornerstone of reality that's being refitted, basically with the sun and Neptune square going on, right? Which will come to an apex um, literally here this week. It actually squares this week on Saturday. They come to a square, but you feel that because Neptune's a very far planet, you feel that square a good 6 7 days. It just starts to
so
get more
we're
and more tense.
so so literally, I was saying these are the energies that are combating or pushing against each other. I felt that, like, literally I could identify that. Then they show up in my life. Those
Yes.
energies.
And what it is that it's sort of I look reconcile is the best word that I can think of, like reconciling your accounting or whatever. It's like you in some ways it's like your story needs to change. In some ways you got to let go of your old spiritual era. In some ways you got to let go of old beliefs. So it's sort of like having your sweater caught on a corner. You're just trying to like kind of loosen each side until they're working side by side together. Now, the Scorpio energy, we have Venus in Scorpio right now. So there is a very heavy Scorpio influence because Venus in Scorpio is saying, okay, it's time to find where the boundaries are. As you're rearranging this, where's the wall? Where's the line? Opening up and accepting that and bringing that in.
So let me tell you the story. The 28-degree Scorpio, who had Aries and Sagittarius. She had a Taurus. I can't remember the rest of it, but a Taurus boyfriend, and she's like, I just smother him to the point that he's dead. He has to get away,
Yeah.
and and it's like, I love you to death. Stab, stab, stab. I love you.
Yeah. Yeah. From Scorpio to Taurus. That's why
Yeah.
I'm always friends with Scorpios. We make good friends. They're opposite signs, Scorpio and Taurus. So, the solution anytime you have an opposite sign, both parties have to take a step toward the middle if you want an opposite relationship like that to actually work, which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting, but yeah, that's what it was. And why is it that in that situation, like, Like there's such a possessive aspect to the relationship, almost to the point of damaging it.
Yeah. Um, it's a controlling, I think. You know, well, Taurus is possessive, and Scorpio, I think, is controlling. So, you know, if you want to look at the two, I think it's because when you are dating your opposite sign, you have to realize that there are really only six signs with polarities. So the Scorpio Taurus line, the Gemini Sag line, the Pisces Virgo line, the Aries Libra line. These are, you know, these are lines of consciousness, and you're on one side or the other. So when you're in a relationship with the opposite sign, you're usually looking at the part of yourself that's underdeveloped. And and that's why you're in that relationship, because you suck at the other side of yourself. And so you see things that you don't like in yourself projected on the other person, and that's the whole point. So there's like an awakening. If you're dating opposite sign, you got to first realize that you're seeing the negative version of you, sort of like a negative in film. In the old days, there was a negative. Remember, we don't have
Yeah.
those anymore in modern photography. But you're seeing the same part of the same energy expressed from the opposite lens. So I think a lot of times it's that the controlling factor is the fact that you have to go inward, but you're trying to fix your inward through from an outward expression.
Preza Isabel says, I'm not controlling or possessing. Mm. I wonder
I
what
think you're
sign she is. She's probably got to be a Scorpio Taurus rising or something.
she's controlling and possessing this chat right now.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? You just took over the show.
Yeah, I'm a Taurus and can be 100% controlling and possessive. LOL.
Yeah. Well, I think those were, you know, let's be fair to ourselves, folks. Like, we're all coming out of an old era and moving into a new era. And I think we should give ourselves permission to, you know, classify things as OE, the old era. Like, that was the old era. And I think the old era of Taurus can be very possessive. I think the old era of Scorpio can be very controlling. But I also feel like we are turning a corner here in January. And we have the opportunity to learn from that and rise above it now.
And that's January 20th.
January 20th, I think, is when it really goes down. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
What's the event of January 20th again? Is it something to do with?
The Sun and Pluto both go to Aquarius at the same time.
Okay. So they both end in Aquarius. So basically who I am and is it the sun and the what?
The Sun and Pluto. So,
Oh yeah. So who I am and my old story, my new story, my beginning and all that come into equality, community, fairness, revelation, can't hide anymore. All that happened.
yeah, transparency. Aquarius, ascension. It's that we're now, you know, the Sun is the beginning of the solar system, the Pluto is the end of the solar system. The two literally go into Aquarius on the same day. They conjoin in Capricorn at 29, and they move to Aquarius on the same day to 0. And if you
So
think that's common, it's not.
yeah, I was gonna say that it just seems like I mean I can feel everything coming to a head. I can feel people. It's like people, and maybe this is just my own reality, but but I'm seeing people of opposites attract and people of like attract in it's just like glue. People are being drawn together in all different
Mhm.
aspects of this.
That's interesting. I mean, it might be what you are requiring. I haven't necessarily seen that trend, but I do think that as we graduate our spiritual karma with ourself, which the full graduation will be in Pisces, the full graduation of I'm no longer my old era self. Sometimes you need to see the opposite of yourself to let go of who you are.
Hmm.
If that makes sense, you have to see the
No,
opposite of you
that
because that's how
that
you
makes
want.
total sense. I mean, that was my. I mean, that's I've been looking at my relationships in my life, and they've been to try and figure out my parents or my caregivers, and then the last one was to really see myself, and and that makes sense. It's funny though. It's that when I see that opposite side of me, I'm actually quite comfortable.
Oh yeah, well it is you expressed in the polarity. Yeah, there is a home there. There's a feeling of home. that there's a feeling of completion there. And also the person is holding space for a consciousness that you tend to ignore because you've
Right.
chosen the other side of the spectrum.
Right.
So a person who's born on a full moon actually is born with that conflict, with that opposition inside of them. Their heart is on one side and their emotions are playing the other side. And they themselves are caught in this back and forth. So someone born on a full moon is less likely to date their opposite sign because they're a living expression of that.
Hmm. So we've got the new moon in Sagittarius coming up.
We do on Tuesday.
Yeah. What does that mean? That's tomorrow.
Yeah, and right now the moon is in Scorpio, by the way. So the moon's been in Scorpio all weekend. So that was the Scorpio energy you've been feeling.
Oh, that's what I was feeling.
And the moon crossed Venus in Scorpio too,
It's
which is
like
love
the
fest.
Aries is like, I don't want to be protected. Get me out of here. Is the Sagittarius is like, I want to have fun. The Scorpios, but you gotta watch out for things.
Yeah, the Scorpio energy. Well, I think the Scorpios, the point of it this weekend, and it leads to the new moon, was you got to separate then from now. So I think we're separating the stories, the narratives. When the moon's in Scorpio, you become contrary. Things become contrary because you develop the edges. You find the edges of something. So
So
I think
like with Cynthia, it's got a 26-degree Scorpio moon.
okay.
It becomes defiant.
Her whole life is to be command. 26 would be to command some sort of boundary structure emotionally. She emotionally is commanding and demanding a certain boundary structure.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that,
That's
which,
accurate.
which is valuable for her loosey goosey Pisces. Like Pisces is just was all flowy, can be energetically messy. So to have that moon in Scorpio kind of keeps, as you say, I mean, you're saying that the body is basically just jelly held together. You know what I mean? Like,
It is. That's all we are.
exactly. So I think, in her case, she is jelly held together by her moon in Scorpio. That holds it all together. Yeah. So the moon
Oh,
in Scorpio was okay, emotionally separating the old life from the new life, basically. And that means closure in some cases, realizations that we're over certain things. And that prepares us for the new moon, which is on Tuesday at 20 degrees, which is okay. The new moon is holding emotional space for a new narrative and a new purpose. So this new moon is the launch of the new story or the new era. That's what we're saying at Serious Joy. We're calling it an era, not an age.
yeah. I think that's a good way to say it. I mean, I remember Gisela all those years ago. She said she called it Aquarius, just a new era.
Yeah. Well, for one, the new age has so much word pollution around that term that from other naysayers and whatnot. So I'm a big proponent of launching new terms from things in 2024 so that we can own the definition of it and not have it hijacked by some other force.
Fascial. It's not a word. We made it
Yeah.
one.
Oh, did you? There you go. When you make the word, as every pharmaceutical will tell you when they launch their own drugs, you own the conscious perception around that word.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, fascial is one. Motion mechanics is another one. Progression specialist is another one. These are all terms that were used because we were explaining things, and if we explained it and we used words from the past, people would go, can you imagine sitting in saying, yeah, I've got the best trainer. At Human Garage, I got this trainer is really good. I know I got the best trainer. I'm over here at Equinox, right? But
Right.
our trainers were actually trained in neurological, fascial release, progression techniques, advanced, like really advanced stuff that no other trainer you ever see on the planet has that stuff. They're practitioners. So you can't call them a trainer because then it's like you put them equal to everybody by words.
Yeah,
And I know it's that
exactly.
you do this a lot with things like Me Ridge.
Yes, I create my own words. Me Ridge, yeah. That's one of my favorite ones, Me Ridge. Um, yeah, gooder is another expression I've come up with, like basically breaking. I have Saturn and Gemini, so I feel I have the right to invent words and language. Like that's one of my rights in my Bill of Rights. But so it's a new era, and that new era, I believe, at least conceptually, begins on this new moon. And then the very next day, Mercury stations retrograde, or as I like to say, Rookery is metrograde.
Mercury is retrograde.
Yeah.
So and then we're coming up to Saturday the 16th, and
Hmm.
that's when it all stamps and puts in. Right?
That's when you turn a corner. So the sun and Neptune will square on Saturday, and that's ultimately when you reconcile the narrative, the conscious narrative. So Sagittarius is the conscious narrative, the earthbound narrative. Neptune and Pisces is the spiritual narrative. And so it's where the spiritual narrative and the conscious awake narrative intersect is Saturday.
So then, so then Sunday the 17th.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what does that look like, out of curiosity?
On Sunday the 17th, we hit step 25.
I see.
So that's when you start to, so now the sun is getting close to the galactic center. And so the galactic center, by the way, in your astrology chart represents the deal you made with your fellow brothers and sisters in humankind. So we say, I believe that even the black hats, if you will, right now on Earth, agreed to play the bad people in this lifetime. They agreed to play the bad role. So we all have this agreement that we make going down, sort of like role play, in my opinion. And so when the sun conjuncts the galactic center, we are sort of reawakened to the next act in what we are destined to do. So what this whole week really is a realignment because we sway off course with free will. So when the sun gets close to galactic center, we realign with what our spiritual promises were to the planet Earth.
So when you have two people with the galactic center exactly the same or more, what is it likely that do they act alike? Do they feel alike?
I wouldn't say so. Sagittarius, the word alike and Sagittarius do not really happen. No two Sages are alike. Similar in interesting traits. No, I think that's sort of a special degree. They play a special role. So, the Galactic Center before 2012 was at step 26. So here's an interesting story about the Galactic Center.
Oh, so that everybody born in there is it's almost like a species born, and they all have the same galactic center.
A 90-year species. 90 years. It stays at 1 degree. So the fact that it changed a degree in 2012 is fascinating because 2012 was the end of the Mayan calendar, and so it was the beginning of the new era, basically. So that's fascinating. But like in 1776, the United States, the galactic center was 23 degrees Sagittarius in 1776. That's where it was at that time. And so everyone in that era, that 90-year era, that 90-year species, we're all here to envision the future. 23 Sag, to come up with the vision. All right. You and I were born at 26 galactic center, which means that our generation is here to lead that vision. We're here to lead the original forefathers' vision of the new era. Anyone born 27 from 2012 onward has the galactic center at 27. They're here to act on and enforce and activate what our leadership is.
So that's why basically everybody born up to 2012, their job was to push the envelope through. In other words, prepare the world for what's coming,
and to manage it. Also to
yeah.
manage it. We manage that. We manage the actual transition. Technically, in fact, it's very interesting. When I looked at the United States Constitution being born at step 23 galactic center, that was the vision. And technically, if you use that scenario, that was the vision, and we're here catching that football. So we're the generation that's actually caught the football. That I believe the Constitution was written for right now. When they looked ahead, they were actually seeing right now freedom of speech and all these different freedom, Bill of Rights. It was designed for this moment of potential tyranny that we could have from, we'll just say, corporate overreach.
Yeah, I keep coming with this. It all the signs point to that it is going to be ugly, but it's not. It's going to clear people out. But the ugliness happens inside of
us. I think that's part of the new era is that in the old days, the ugliness happened outside of us because we were so numb to who we were inside of us. So we literally picked up swords and fought people. This idea that there would be a violent revolution, I don't agree that's going to happen. It's just not, our species has outgrown it. I think the old war wagers and the neocons are pushing for these types of things. but no one really feels like fighting anymore because they're the real battles within themselves. And that's where their fight really is. So in the new age, the fight moves from the outer to the inner. But it's
Yeah,
interesting. But you're seeing a lot of change. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I was gonna say it's this is the what I've been saying for years. Sorry, this is the war on perception.
Yes. Yeah, consciousness, literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a complete, yeah, it's a conscious, it's all about consciousness. In fact, I think the war, if you want to call it that, I think even it needs a new term, is that there's a faction of the population that wants to keep the consciousness where it has always been, and there's a faction of the population that wants to take consciousness to a new level, and there's a faction that is in between. They're not quite sure. They haven't picked a side. They're the indetermined,
Mm-hmm.
and that to me is the football game that begins next year, and it does begin next year.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm super interested because we're coming up. We're 6-7 months away from really seeing the complete ripping out of the infrastructure of this world, this current world, right?
It seems like it, or at least the alternative challenge. What's interesting is that there is the old schoolers, or as Elon Musk calls them, the extinctionists. There are extinctionists, I think, that have presented a playbook for our future, and I don't think the pro-human side, to use Elon Musk's term again, has not presented their vision for how the Earth should be. So I think what happens in 2024 is the light workers present their alternative vision to compete with the extinctionist vision. That's what I believe happens. We haven't come out with a vision yet.
Yeah, speaking of Elon Musk, it was funny watching what he's doing right now because,
isn't it?
yeah, I mean, at the media conference there, he told all the advertisers, starting with Bob Iger, go F yourself.
Yep. To Bob
Don't
directly. He
advertise.
literally
He
said
says,
Bob.
all you guys pull out. Just go on, pull out. You'll kill this free speech platform, and you'll show the entire world what you're really about.
Yeah, he did. He called him on it. Plus, there's rumors that he has other revenue models in mind for it. He plans to make his money outside of advertising.
Yeah, it's going to be a commerce
fintech is one of
platform.
them. Yeah.
It's going to be a commerce platform. I mean, what we've been working at here at Human Garage is a way to. So right now, what we do is, like, if you think about what's happening in China, it's a social credit score.
Yeah.
Which is, but the idea behind it, like everything else, is the right idea. We want to measure people so that they can use something other than money, because money can be manipulated, but my actions and my activities can't. But instead of a social credit score, how about a social contribution score? So in other words, that's what we're doing. It's like, if you're out there helping people and if you take care of yourself and you help other people and you can demonstrate it, we do this right now. Come stay on our property. Come to Lions Bay right here, or come to Mexico. There's food, there's media equipment, there's people hanging out there, there's classes, there's people cooperating, building a future. Come hang out there for a weekend, a week, a month. And why? Because you've been contributing to the community, and that's how we run our community. Now we're about a year away from having the ability to really measure people's activities in the real world with AI.
Wow. You guys are personally Rift Team, or the world at large? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because like for example, I know that somebody who takes care of their own body, who doesn't eat chemicals, who stops eating chemicals, who stops wearing chemicals, who does a fascial maneuvers or something like that to move their body, who manages their emotions in real time. I know that person, in order to do that, they automatically have to be helping others. You can't do that in a box because you don't have enough reflections.
Mm-hmm.
So I can measure by people's activities, and I know pretty accurately where they are in their own process by doing that. So what we want to do is we're taking people and rewarding them.
I think that's brilliant. That's the way to do it. with everything, I mean, everything has two potentials. Dynamite was great for blasting through canyons and building railroads, but also it kills. Like I think all technology has both of those sides. In fact, speaking to Elon, he talks about, he was reluctant to get into AI because it's a double-edged sword. He was focusing on single-edged swords only, like electric cars are only good. Kind of hard to see where that would turn into a nightmare, and rockets, kind of hard to see where that would turn into a nightmare. AI, he said he held off on because his invention could one day when he's gone turn on the humankind. So he could inadvertently create a weapon, which of course is what the whole discovery of dynamite is, and the whole Nobel Peace Prize. I think it was Alfred Nobel. I think it was his first name. He invented dynamite, but he didn't want a legacy for killing people, so he created the Nobel Prize.
Oh,
So
that's
his name,
interesting.
so
I
his
didn't know
name,
that.
yeah, so his name went down in history as applauding the do-gooders instead of his name going down in history as being the creator of death.
So, a more touchy topic. I want to get your take on this.
Oh,
Somebody just said free Palestine, and we get that
ooh.
all the time, of course.
Hmm.
What, from an astrological point of view, have you looked at what's happening?
I haven't looked at the astrology. I haven't seen Palestine's chart. I need to actually pull it up and have a
What
meaningful
about
conversation.
what
I know
about
is I know Israel's a Taurus, and I know that that Uranus has not run over Israel's sun yet. So we looked at Israel's chart, and it's interesting because these are modern nations. We have charts on them. Like you don't have like a chart of England, for instance. We have a chart of Canada, we have a chart of Mexico because they were established in the modern era. But I know that for Israel, shift is about to hit the fan because Uranus is about to cross their sun next year. But at the same time, Jupiter is also there. So that means that Israel is being encouraged to grow as a nation and take it to a higher level. So Israel's under this pressure to raise their vibration, whatever that means. I'm not going to pretend to know what that is. I have no idea. I'm just speaking clinically as an astrologer. Israel's being called to take how they vibrate to a higher level. And so I would say that these events are revealing the areas that could be improved. Put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's a pretty accurate statement. It's very,
Yeah.
very, very revealing right now. Um, we put out a post about it before, and we were we were trying in the post that we did in Cinema Live. We were talking about the human effects of conflict,
Mm, it's
and
interesting.
yeah, of course, it gets politicized. Like, you're
Yep.
tone deaf over here. You didn't say this over here. And I'm like, you guys, it's a human being. It doesn't matter what side that they're on.
Right. And chances are, so if you look at astrology, and I do readings for people, the people who were pagan and who were oppressed by the Christians later reincarnated as a Christian that repressed the pagans. Again, you have to live both sides. So my point is in that region, for instance, I would imagine that the Israeli citizens have been Palestinians in past lives, and Palestinians have been Jewish in past lives, and this is they're seeing both sides of whatever that particular conflict is. But I believe in the new era. I mean, it's self-evident. All humans are created equal.
Yeah,
We're getting back to the original Constitution. It's like
yeah,
everyone deserves love, peace, unity, respect. Everyone deserves to live happy and content and freedom of speech and religion. That's where I'm a pure, U.S. person. I think that philosophy works for the whole world. I mean, that's what we're working out for the world. There's a lot of people. It was funny. I was talking today in our staff meeting because I was at my staff meeting before this, and it's like, from what I hear, Thomas Jefferson was a real a-hole. Like he did a lot. He was a pain in the butt. He wrote letters behind George Washington's back to the press. He used the press as a weapon. He was the first politician to use press as a weapon. He did all these bad things, but I think the forefathers realized I don't really like this Virginian in front of me. I don't really like this Bostonian in front of me, but I have to get along with this person or deal with King George. So it came down, we have to learn to get along because there's a greater threat if we don't. And that's really the magic melting pot of America. We do have that natural tolerance of one another. We're not always our favorite each other, but we're Americans. I think in my opinion, Pluto and Aquarius says let's take that philosophy of all souls are created equal and it being self-evident, a term that Thomas Jefferson came up with, which I think is a brilliant term, self-evident. I think that has to be applied to the whole world, and that includes that region as well. That's my opinion.
So let's come all the way back to the United States.
Okay.
What do you think? What do you feel is likely? Because power structures are being disrupted. What do you feel is going to be disrupted this coming year?
Well, it's interesting, and we were speaking of this today too. I took a sneak peek at there's a solar eclipse on April 7th that's going to rock this world. So there's going to be, I think there's going to be a true fight for power. I think we're going to see real arm wrestling here in the United States. And, I'm not sure. I think there'll be arm wrestling within it's already there. It's self-evident, to use the term again. It's like we know Biden is shaky as far as a candidate. We know Trump is shaky as a candidate. We know Bobby Kennedy is pulling the foundation of the situation. We know Vivek is telling really, harsh truth in the debate. So the truth of the matter is that there's all these different factions that are wanting to be in power, and so it's a great race, I think, in 2024 to take power, to be in power. But it seems like the turning point is April 7th. By the way,
April 7th. Why is it April 7th?
There's a solar eclipse in 19 degrees Aries, which incidentally, that conjuncts Chiron. So it's the sun, the moon, and Chiron at 19 degrees Aries. And 19 Aries says, I manifest. So that means that, and Aries is power, and Aries is action, Aries is campaigns, movement, change. And the fact that it's conjunct Chiron means that I'm healed now. There's nothing wrong with me. So there's this moment where it's like, there's nothing wrong with me anymore. I'm not the problem anymore. You are. Is sort of that what that solar eclipse is. And by the way, Jupiter is at 19 degrees Taurus, which is a grandmaster degree for Taurus at that exact moment. Jupiter in that moment is where Uranus is today. Today, Uranus is at 19, setting up for this 19 event.
So 19 degrees Taurus, we would be manifesting a new story about our world, about the actual world itself, about how we work in this world because of Taurus, right?
Taurus is sort of the mechanics of production. So, Henry Ford was a Taurus and he made the Ford Taurus, it's the idea of assembly line. Taurus is manufacturing, how you assemble, how you grow, how you make things. The last time Uranus was in Taurus was World War II, when we invented the jet airplane, the rocket, nuclear bombs, invented television, invented powdered milk. Like, we invented all these things the last time Uranus was in Taurus. Here we are now. It looks like the big boom is AI, which is starting to get really intelligent. I'm seeing a huge quantum leap in AI. So there's a new world. There's a new way of producing things that's manifesting at the same time as people are going for power. And I think one evidence of Jupiter and Taurus and Uranus and Taurus is it looks like podcasts, the new internet podcasts, will be probably what determines the presidential race. It won't be network television. Mass media is officially expired.
That's why they're trying to censor it in Canada.
That's why Elon Musk spent $44 billion.
Yeah. I
mean, was to save that.
I mean, it's funny because what we have we're talking about human health and new ways that your body is meant to heal itself. Take away all the bullshit, your body heals itself. Now, what happened is these lives that I do are now being reproduced throughout our network, hundreds and hundreds of them simultaneously right now. Like, they're going on all day. They're going on yesterday.
I watch them.
Yeah. And it's
great to see. Yeah.
And what that's doing is it's allowing these messages to duplicate and
propagate.
Yeah. And that's where it's giving people that, like, you don't have to be the talking head. Like I can talk to Jordan Peterson if I want to, or Chris Willix. I mean, Chris Williamson. I mean, I was podcast number 29 for him, but I choose to spend my time talking to people like us because we're bringing in the new. And I want to invest in the future. I don't want to invest in the past coming back and talking again.
I'm the same way. I mean, I think that that's the big shift with the South Node and Libra. So the South Node and Libra means the new teams are forming. And, on the same topic, Elon Musk did a town hall meeting. I can't remember what it's called on X's platform, with Alex Jones yesterday.
Oh,
Alex Jones
wow.
and Elon Musk had a
Alex Jones.
conversation.
I mean,
He
Alex
was
Jones.
reinstated on the X platform.
Yeah, it's funny because you got to imagine, because there's a lot of kerfuffle going around about the whole idea of space and what that means. Now he's got Alex Jones on there.
Yeah, he
By the
does.
way, Elon Musk said in an interview, he said we're not going to Mars, we're not going to the moon. He says we haven't left the low Earth orbit. He said that the other day, by the way.
Wow, interesting. So what is he? So, that we have not ever is what he's suggesting,
Well,
or that we won't.
it sounds like he's been punching rockets at a big big dome.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. That's a whole interesting subplot that I'm still
I'm
until you
Yeah,
know. I,
it's funny because it's people describe that it's not, they say flat Earth or round Earth. I tell people it's a realm. It makes more sense to me.
makes most sense to me too, and this is just empirical. Why every other planet appears to be round. The
Yeah,
sun is round. Every star in the sky is round. Everything seems to be round. A woman's egg is round, right? Like it's like round seems to be it as far as gravity and the way the universe works. That's what it seems to be. But I'm open. I'm like, okay. I mean, I just need to go up in one of these rockets and see for myself. When the
well,
time
I mean
comes.
that's literally that's what we're doing right now. We in Human Garage, what we've done is we've taken all these, like the 29 group, which we're
Yep.
in about 2 weeks we're going to put on our new platform. So then
Okay.
anybody could join. It's more accessible. It's easier. But then there'll be a 0 to 29 group. Well, once we establish this, like our Parents Helping Children group, we put it up. We let people moderate it, and then we go and do something else.
Right.
And that's what I feel like for me. Like we're going over to Asia early next year, and I just have a whole list of things I want to go see. I'm like, yeah, we'll come over, we'll help your country. Literally, we're talking to like the entire country of Philippines and the entire country of Indonesia. We'll come over there, we'll do these events for you, and here's the list of payment that I have. I want to see this ancient site. I want to see this pyramid. I want to see these
That's
tunnels.
cool.
That's all
That's
I want to
cool.
do. I just want to go see this stuff for myself. I mean, I've seen some of it on film. I've seen copy about it, but I know there's all kinds of stuff out there that we haven't begun to.
Oh, I think we've had most. I do believe, and that there has been a unified force that has wanted to keep the truth away from the public. I don't know why, but I think we have. I think we have reframed history falsely. I think from what I understand, there's false timelines,
Yeah,
and I'm not sure why that is. I have no. I can't figure out why would you want to do that. But again, it goes back to our beginning of our conversation. There seems to be that people want to point the Earth towards extinction versus towards the potential.
yeah,
Is what it
yeah.
seems
I
like.
have on my live sometimes. I have cultivate elevate. Have you ever seen that guy?
No, I haven't. Cultivate elevates good.
You gotta go
Well,
look at it. I mean, what he's doing is he's ripping apart all the old stuff and saying, so where did these buildings go? And it looks like they generated power here. This is what it looks like. Here's the diagram. He's
oh
just
yeah, the
he gets shut
ancients.
down. Like I try to tag him on a couple posts, and it's like this guy has been is often gives misinformation. Are you sure you want to tag him in his post? Right?
Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, that's really fascinating. Which tells me, like, since you put it that way, yes, that's my attitude. Yes, now that you've warned me, I'm in.
Yeah.
It's
So
almost
so
reverse of what you think, upside down, mirror.
so what do you think about this? Okay, the human body is interesting. So what I found was this: part of the reason it was so hard for me to train, like when I was in LA, and at the Conscious Clubhouse, which you came and saw, I still had not been able to fully train somebody or transfer the skill set that I knew about fascia to anybody. And there, I found out when Jason and Cynthia learned, because Jason learned the feeling without the narrative. So if I come and touch your body and I think my perception is muscle, skeletal, brain dominant, the body just responds that way. It gives me that to work with. If I think of it as fascia, it gives me a whole different presence. Like I can move shoulders around and hips around just by touch. Like things, chiropractors adjust the bones and, to try and adjust the back to gradually get the hip in. I just take the whole hip and go, and it moves. So in other words, what I perceive, the universe seems to give me back that perception. And I can demonstrate that in the human body. And we're just a fractal of the universe. So that's why I'm saying, if I kind of like, if you think it's a flat earth, you're right. If you think it's a round earth, you're right. If you think it's a permanent, you're right.
Yes, that's creation.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone's
at some
right.
point, objective reality is only what I see and process and believe. And I'm in the world of shifting people's objective reality in their bodies. So if I can shift it in your body, that means that it can be shifted elsewhere.
I think 100%. I think that's part of our awakening that we're learning. Quantum mechanics prove this. Is it a particle or a wave? It's based on the perceiver.
Yeah, both.
So it's on. So the universe is willing to play ball any direction you want to go. And my assumption about the age of Aquarius, or the new era, is that everyone believes in what they want to believe in, and they go live around each other who believe the same thing, instead of trying to convince something outside of us to change to affirm our reality. That we no longer need to be slaves, and that's a deliberate word I'm using, to be slaves of someone else's narrative to affirm ours.
Hey, if you have to show a license to drive a car, if you have to get a license to get married, if you have to show papers to leave or go back into or enter into another land, you are a slave.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That is. I mean, slaves had to go ask for permission to get married.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we're asking permission to drive a car, asking permission to leave a country, all these things, as you just noticed. Yeah.
That's why I dropped out of all the systems. No driver's license, no bank accounts. No.
Yeah.
People always go, but you have to have one. And I'm like, no, actually, I don't. There's people around me that will do it. And then eventually there'll be more people like me. It's like the first guy, Roger Bannister, breaks the 4-minute mile, and then 58 other people break it that year. Somebody has to do it. And it wasn't this way. I remember my mom used to tell me when in the 40s, when she was growing up, that 50s, that they were trying to convince people to get Social Security numbers.
Yes. My father actually held out on getting ones for us, me and my brothers, until like 88, when they forced him to, because he was afraid of us being tagged as a number as kids.
And they give us a live birth certificate, and I said, well, I guess that's better than a dead birth certificate. But
right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's all, I think ultimately our power comes down to whether or not we continue to believe the lies.
Okay.
So,
so believe is Sagittarius.
Yep.
It's the planet Jupiter.
Yep.
It's the number 3.
Correct.
It's the color blue.
Yep. Indigo.
And it is the stomach.
Oh, interesting. That's when you got a bad feeling in your stomach. So when you get a bad feeling in your stomach, you're probably going against some kind of some sort of belief. Right. And I believe, again, this Saturday, the sun squaring Neptune, is that we have a spiritual intention in this world to learn something, and we choose a narrative or belief structure that supports that lesson. So from what my research shows, you don't carry the same belief structure lifetime to lifetime. So for those of you who are Nazis in this life, you're something else in the next life. You try on all belief structures like a costume. They're only relevant to this lifetime's intentions.
Okay, so here's one. Time is fictitious. We make it up. So a past life isn't chronological. It's happening simultaneous.
Correct. Yes. I just had someone on, Ruben Langdon, on my show Astro Mingle, and he interviews extra dimensionals, so people who channel aliens. And one of the channels said something that blew my mind is that when you die, some souls who die now will reincarnate back to World War II.
Yeah.
So that they choose that they want to, they've come so far in their understanding.
It's a theme
that
park.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I'm
it's
calling
like
it. It's a theme park.
I go to the Earth tour guide and I say, okay, here's what I want. Okay, what I want to do is I want to be born to two crazy parents, a Scorpio and a Leo. I want to run away from pedophilia. I want to get involved, have all these tough issues with growing up as kids and fitting in. I want to be a bodybuilder this time, but but then I want to go off in business and make a lot of money. But damn it, I want the U.S. government to come in, arrest me, and put me in jail. Then I want to come out and start healing myself and helping others heal. And I want to practice medicine without a license. And they're like, whoa, that's a big, tall order. How the heck are you going to do that? Well, okay, 29 degrees Sag. Okay, oh, I got the parents. Here you go. Boom, and you go.
Yeah. I think I believe there's some AI involved in it. So it's sort of like you say, I want to pick up this storyline where it's me versus the establishment. Okay, we have a nice vacation for you like that. I want to bring remnants of me as a Roman soldier. Okay, bodybuilder. I I always loved making money as a ship merchant, as a pirate. Okay, you're an inventor of technology. Like, and it's sort of like, I think it's just sort of map quests, like,
Yeah.
okay, here's your timeline, and poof, we're gonna make you forget. So it seems original and interesting. And that was the other thing that the aliens were talking about. The Palladian channel said in particular that this theme park, the reason why it's so cool is the amnesia part. The reason why the souls and aliens want to come into this playground is because they forget that they're extra dimensional beings. They forget that they're tired of the universe. They're in this illusion that they're isolated and alone, and so it's sort of like a drug trip, in the sense of, what kind of choices would you make if you didn't know for sure God exists? What kind of choices would you make if you didn't know for sure you would live on to another life? And by pinching off that awareness, it's almost like sort of like asphyxiation. They're deliberately asphyxiating part of your conscious awareness to create a wilder experience from that lack of oxygen, right? That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that. I feel that that's true. I mean, so there's an interesting girl that we do some work with. She just developed a system of understanding intention, where you're from and what energies you work with, and she does it for like corporations, like $150,000 to do the executive team.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and we're talking big corporations, ones that right?
Wow.
And so basically, I'm from Alpha Centauri.
According to her,
Yeah,
or you?
no, according to her.
Oh, gotcha.
And I have two energies. One is wisdom, and the other is self realization.
Oh, yeah, I see that. I see that in you for sure.
Yeah,
energetically.
yeah,
yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm from Sirius, which is the
oh
whole
yeah,
point of
you're
my
from
brand.
Sirius for sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's why it's
Seriously.
Sirius Joy.
Yeah. It came, I thought I was being clever, and then started having experiences unfold. And it's interesting. I think Elon's from Sirius too, because Sirius conjuncts his ascendant directly, direct conjunction, which is a really strong influence. So, in fact, hearing Elon speak in this last thing, he was saying, I think you're really not much of a civilization until you're multiplanetary. And I'm like, that's an alien perspective, like, where you get that vision, to call yourself an interesting species once you reach a certain benchmark. But yeah, I think we all came here. So, speaking of this galactic, the other thing about this on a 3D density level is that apparently this planet has the genes of all the major alien races, in the nearby galaxies. So
Yeah,
that's another reason
yeah,
why it's a reality show too.
yeah. It's a reality. It's like it's like a tour park for souls. It's like a theme park for souls. I came here for an experience, and I feel that today. I feel like I'm here for the experience, which means that for the most part, I don't take a lot of this shit seriously anymore. And go ahead.
I see it now as the Hunger Games. Like it's a
Yeah.
we're now in
Yeah, I was just gonna say Hunger Games.
it's like we're pretty much now in the games. And I think that's part of, for at least for my fellow light workers, like that's the shift we're all having, Gary, is that we're all finally taking ourselves less seriously because we realize it's a simulation, you know. And I don't mean to keep touting Elon Musk, but he just happens to have a real
Now
megaphone.
he's
But
been in my consciousness. This like for the most part, I don't follow anybody. I don't watch anything because I don't want to pollute my experience. And I want to experience. I don't want somebody else to tell me what, like, that's an ocean. If I spend 20 years learning about it, but I haven't jumped in it, when I jump in it, it's going to affect the way I experience it.
yeah.
And but lately I've been listening to him because I've have you seen the one Matt from Elevate, Cultivate, Elevate? He does it again. He shows the pictures of people in this timeline, and he shows them copies. Have you ever seen that, where they show
No.
like a famous person today, and then they show a famous person like 100 years ago, or like 75, 80 years ago, or something like that?
Oh, is that him doing that? Oh, that's
But I
interesting.
mean, he's sharing some of them. There's some people doing it that have found it, like like Robert Downey Jr. or somebody like that, or like Nikola Tesla or something like that. And they show them in different timelines, and they look the same and all that. That was my motivation for the 29-degree group, because
Mm.
I found doppelgangers, which I've shared with you. You've seen them. I
Hmm.
found people that look like
Oh
me,
yeah.
act like me. So I wanted to explore this. I mean, if they're here, that means that they got to be here at another time too.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. And I'm not sure what that is, if that's our same soul fractioned or
Okay, well, what I say, here's what I say. So this is my current version because I'm watching. Like if my body's physically changing, I can go to Debbie Griffiths, who's 29-degree Sag. Her hair starts getting blonder like mine. She's not doing anything necessarily to do that, stimulate that. I look like I've been working out because she looks like she's been working out. So like she has physical changes, because at the end of this ball of goo that we were talking about earlier, it's
Mhm.
habituated against frequency, right? And frequency, we have the primary frequency, the Schumann resonance, which
Right.
makes us dance. But then we have the astrological frequencies, which are the numbers in the chart. That's like, so I came when you were back from your vacation. We talked. I'm like, so well, this is how I'm reading your chart. I'm reading it from right to left, and these numbers mean something. And I'm like, yeah, because that's our programming code.
Yep.
That we're the iPhone, and that's just how we run the apps. It's those numbers coming in those aspects.
Yes, there's choices. It's literally like several, to me, it's like many dials.
Yeah.
So we're dialing in this sort of frequency and like turn this to this and turn this to this
Okay,
frequency.
so if I take a substance and it's a unified substance like salt, okay, and I vibrate it on a frequency board, the frequency changes the pattern. You've seen that before, right? And
Yes,
it even
totally.
frequency will change the directional flow of water. So
Yes,
so
I've seen that
basically,
too.
the way I look, because when I come out as a baby, I'm pretty much a ball of goo.
Hmm.
So the formation of that, the way I look, is dependent upon how I interact with those frequencies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and you've seen, there's also a natural frequency. You've seen the pictures of that bridge, that steel bridge from the 60s that was doing
Yeah,
huge transverse waves
yeah,
because the
yeah.
wind
And it
was blowing
busted
through
finally.
the wind was blowing through the valley at creating a certain pitch of a sound, and the pitch of the sound was the natural frequency of the ions in the steel, and so the ions in the steel just assimilated into the same frequency of that natural sound, which means that things as solid as metal can be fluid if you can match its natural frequency, which of course there's a lot of assumption about levitating rocks for the pyramids was based on sound frequency
Yeah,
technology
it is.
also.
I mean, listen, gravity is not what we think it is. I mean, um, a tree. How does water get from the roots of a tree up 100 feet? There's no
Yeah,
vasodilation in a tree. So,
that's true.
but thoughts or electricity, the tree is the branch into the ether.
Yep, like
Electricity,
this.
thoughts are electric. Electricity pulls up water. When you do 2.4 reverse sine wave, it actually, water starts to spin like this with a sine wave. If you reverse it, the water that looks like it's going down reverses back up. We show this as part of our 28-day reset. And then the
Wow.
sand vibrates on a plate to create a pattern. That pattern, as you get more dense, looks like mesh,
Mm,
like a
yes.
pattern, almost kind of like exactly what's behind you right
Yes.
now.
Actually,
And
ironic and true.
so basically, my emotions are magnetic,
Yes.
pulling me down. They make me feel heavy. My thoughts are electric. The
Yes.
electricity pulls the water and the sine wave up, and my emotions pull the sand in my body down. Magnetism between the sand being pulled down and the water spinning up. That's how this 70% water suit stands.
That's fascinating. Fascinating.
Fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so what that comes down to is, which I think is a brilliant discovery that you made I hadn't thought of that before, but electromagnetic waves are literally thoughts and feelings projected.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it is. Because even a construct like love has a frequency, and
Yes.
so does pain, so does suffering, so
Hmm.
does joy, and they're measurable. Like we can measure this
Yeah.
stuff. We're in the age of frequency medicine,
Yep.
and Nikola Tesla, he said the medicine of the future was frequency, right? Um,
Hmm.
and what's the channeler name? The guy who used to fall asleep, he channeled like
Edgar Casey.
Edgar Casey.
Edgar
Yeah, he said
Casey.
frequency is the medicine of the future because we are frequency. I mean, that's why the devices I use are water based only. Like I've gone away from all the technology. I use the Nano V structured water here. I drink structured water, and that's it. I do that. I do maneuvers. I use frequency sound, either self-generated or externally generated. That's been my transformation. I can only get so far by pushing my body, by moving, like pulling and pushing levers. Only got me so far, and then I plateaued. But the changes that I've had recently are all about frequency and sound.
Yeah, it's fast. It's interesting.
Fascinating.
I
So,
have to know
Chris,
that one. Yeah.
so just before we go here today, just a 60-second wrap up. What should people be doing for the rest of the week and into next week, into next Monday?
You are emotionally projecting your story forward. And emotional projection is to feel where you belong in the future and to feel where your story doesn't belong in the future. This is literally writing the script that you will accept the copy of the script next Saturday. And then we come back, we'll talk about it. 1 week from now on 26, that's when you commit to the storyline. So again, this is a felt thing. With Mercury retrograde, your mind will be numb as of Wednesday. Communication things will start to mess up, forcing you to think differently, which is part of the issue here. But where we're going, your thoughts have never gone before. So we're at a point now where you can only, do I feel I belong in Canada in March? Do I feel I belong in Egypt in March? Do I feel I belong as the head of this company? Do I feel, so it's really, do you feel, identifying that narrative and that feeling. The new moon is the feeling, the overall global feeling that you're going to feel. So we're feeling through our future by running possible narratives and seeing which one we associate with.
That's it. And again, that's why our event up here in Canada is on Saturday. It just feels like that's the day.
Yeah, I've always gone by feeling, but I've never told anyone because I thought it would be laughed at in the past. But the course of my entire life has been plotted by everything I've done, everything. I just had a feeling I should. Just felt like it. I have no other explanation for that. Drive scientists crazy.
Yeah, I have all these feelings, but then I use all these things to explain to people why these feelings are there. I go find all the reasons. I no longer do that. Now I'm like, I just got a feeling this is the way we should go.
Yeah, I mean, my mind would always look for evidence as well. But I do think we're at a point now, a pioneering point. Like I use Lewis and Clark exploring West. When you're in a new world, and you're in the middle of the jungle. There's no maps. There's no one there before you. You got to feel. You get through that by feeling your way through it. Whenever you're pioneering. So we're now at a place now where emotion. I think the new era, emotion usurps thought. So feelings are now more
Yeah, so
important than
actually,
thought.
the way that I describe it is that we have a field that has a dense human in it. That field transmits information to us through stimulation. We get a stimulation. That stimulation creates, first of all, an emotion, and then a thought reacts to the emotion. And then, do I recognize the thought? And then, if I do, then I go to a narrative. That's the drug. Oh, I already know
Yeah,
that. Go right over here.
right. Because the mind wants. That's all the mind wants to do is match make.
Yeah,
Basically, it's
we
looking for the
think our
familiar.
brains are intelligent, but our brains are like really. I'm going to say this, brain. Please forgive me for what I'm about to say. Is pattern recognition machines. They're not too intelligent, and if it can't get the pattern, it just keeps repeating it over and over and over again.
Yes, it's true. And I think once we let go of the mind as the source of intelligence, then we're actually free from the prison we had put ourselves in our mind to explore true intelligence. So
Yes.
I think through emotional exploration, we now move to new dimensions of reality.
Intel, it's meant to be gathered from many sources. Our body feels, has acoustics, bioharmonic, biophotonic, feels energy, feels that. The brain just brings it all together to present it to the executive board.
Exactly. The brain is merely a marker board where you just look at it, a way of looking at it, a way of organizing it, but never the source of the truth.
You know,
Only
that's
the
the
part of you
interesting
that
part. It's
recognizes
the
it.
only part of the body that has no pain when you cut into it.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, because
Yeah,
I've seen open brain
you can do brain
surgeries.
surgery without any anesthesia.
I've seen that. That just freaks me out. And
Hmm.
or you can see Hannibal Lecter
Yeah, yeah,
in
every
the
time I think of
sequel.
that,
That
I
was
think of
just
Hannibal Lecter first.
I did too. Isn't it crazy how filmmaking screws with your head? But I was thinking about how he's like diving into that man's brain. But anyways,
Okay,
I
Chris.
digress. Yeah, it was such a pleasure as always,
Such a
Gary.
pleasure
And to
as
everyone in
always.
HD,
We'll see you next week. And I sent a text to you about the Masters group. We can do that next week sometime, hopefully.
I did, and I what I suggested was we should on a 29 day.
Oh, sure.
Shouldn't we meet on a 29 day?
Let's do it.
Shouldn't
29
we
days.
live
Yeah,
the
29
ping
days are
pong
always my good
madness?
days.
I'd say we might consider always at least one in a month. It's always gonna at least be on 29.
Yeah,
Like
that would be
maybe
good. That would be good.
as
Let's
it
do
moves
that.
around. Yeah, okay. Sounds good. So count on that. All right, friend. Much
Okay.
love to you and
Take
everyone in the
care.
community. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.